My name is James Teresi. I've been married to my lovely wife Kelly for 13 years and we have 4 beautiful children. We live here in Canton, Georgia, and I work at a little hardware store you may have heard of called the Home Depot, and this is my story. So my story begins as an average, ordinary American story. I was born and raised in the Silicon Valley before it was really the Silicon Valley. It was a beautiful way to grow up. Came from a family that was together as a unit. We were Catholics. We went to church every weekend. I knew who Jesus was. And it was a wonderful childhood. My story changed a little in my mid-20s. Late one night, I'll never forget, it was a Friday night. I had just taken a shower before I was going to bed and was walking across an outdoor courtyard and remember thinking, I feel like a horse just kicked my chest. But other than that, not much else. You know, was a young guy and just kind of ignored it and went in the house and tried to lay down and go to sleep and got up and roused my wife Kelly and said, I think I might have some trouble here. You better take me to the hospital. The nurse took one look at me and 30 seconds later I was laying on a gurney and there was someone on top of me cutting my shirt open and racing me to the back. Remember a few hours later, a doctor coming in and telling me, you've had some heart trouble, son. You've got atrial fibrillation, which is a fancy way of saying your heart's not beating correctly. Ultimately was told, this will probably never happen to you again. Put it out of your mind. Go about your life. You're young. Go and live. My worst fears came true I'll never forget this, in May of 2005. We're living in Texas and had not had an episode for a couple of years and find myself in the ER again. Only this time things get really different as the doctors take some kind of extraordinary measures, shocking me, some other things, and really for the first time I was actually wondering, am I going to make it out of this? Like, is this ever going to stop? As the story goes on, I meet some incredible doctors in Texas who say, hey, we can cure this thing. We can go after this. We've been doing a lot of research, a lot of work, and I underwent some, at the time, what was still pretty new surgical procedures, and they got in there and did some magical stuff that doctors do. And then in February of 2008, I'm at a church meeting, as a matter of fact, teaching a Dave Ramsey class. I feel that kick again. And I think to myself, man, this is it. But again, God comes through, and I'll never forget every person that took care of me in that intensive care unit, every nurse, every doctor was a believer. What I've seen come out of the last 15 years and what the experience that I went through has enabled me to do for others and with others, that's where I really start to see God's story play out. And as you think about the book of James, what I didn't understand 10 years ago and what I have a better understanding of today is James tells us, count it as joy, your suffering. And you kind of go, what? But he says, count it as joy because God's doing a work in you and let him do it. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I do know this. I am better for this experience. My faith is stronger for this experience. And so in that, I do count what I've experienced and what I still wrestle with today as a joy. My name is James J. Teresi, and this is the blueprint God is giving me to make faith work.